night one of week one of the 24-25 NFL season. Let's get straight into it. What a fucking way to start out the season with the game that the Ravens and Chiefs played last night. I have to start at the end. You know I have to start at the end. You know what happened at this point unless you truly live under a rock. But I will give the background anyways. Set the stage real quick. The Ravens are running without any timeouts post 2-minute warning in their own inside of their own 15-yard line. And they drive down after getting some good possession catches to work the sticks by Isaiah Likely and get out of bounds. You even throw a couple of runs in there that Lamar Jackson impressively manages to get out of bounds despite all of the defenders just trying to get him out of there, keep him in bounds, keep the clock running, and they were able to do it only one time. But eventually, all of that success on the shorter plays gets them into the red zone. After Rashad Bateman manages to get a hell of a catch. Then on first down, inside the red zone, inside the 10-yard line, Jackson throws up a pass to Likely, but it's overthrown after Likely makes a double move to clear Trent McDuffie out of the way, and he takes a nasty hit from Brian Cook out of bounds that results in his shoulder and maybe pecs getting fucked up for a second, and so he has to sit out for a little bit, get that checked on, as they then move to second down, where Lamar Jackson misses Zay Jones wide open in the end zone. He kind of threw it behind him a little bit. I'm sure that was a miscommunication. Zay Flowers was probably supposed to stay right exactly where Lamar threw it at. They just weren't on the same page at that point in time. But anyways, third down, in what would turn out to be the final play of the game, Lamar Jackson appeared to have hit Isaiah Likely for a potential game-tying score. And even with the play, without any sort of context just yet, John Harbaugh is quickly trying to say, let's go for two, let's go for two. He was adamant about it. There's no denial. You can see the camera in that moment pan over to him clamoring to make that happen. But obviously, all scoring plays are taken up to the replay booth for review. And under further review, in quite possibly one of the most heartbreaking ways, if you're a Ravens fan, to open up any sort of season or lose any sort of game in general, Isaiah Likely's spikes at the very bottom of his cleats are touching the very front of the back line in the end zone. He was out of bounds. He made the play, and his toe was just on the tip of the boundary line in the back of the end zone. They overturn the touchdown. The game ends in controversial and dramatic fashion. And after it, some Ravens players are talking their stuff. Lamar Jackson swears that Isaiah Likely caught it. You see the footage, and yes, he did, but he was not in bounds. Roquan Smith, who's dealing with a different situation from earlier in the game when I didn't even know Peyton Hendershot was with the team, but Peyton Hendershot pushed him after, Mahomes got hit late, and I guess there was some little beef from that. I don't really know what to make of that. But then you also have Likely going on multiple tangents about the play and being a little salty. And granted, if, any of us were in his position too, I'm not going to lie, you kind of be the same way. Now, he did have a game last year I believe, where he had 10 catches for 164 yards. But honestly, a game where he had 9 receptions for 111 yards and a very good touchdown catch and run from earlier to get the Ravens back in the game. He was certainly in line and in the right to talk whatever he wanted because he fought hard out there. Even to battle back from that injury so soon, try to get back on the field and go out there and potentially tie it or win it depending on Harbaugh's choice for your team. That's pretty commendable stuff. But obviously, the catch that was not to be is what's going to stick in his mind the most as a young player in his position. This is as simple as that. And honestly, as for the team, I mean, I get it. You have a chance to do that to the reigning champions in their own house. You're obviously going to feel a sort of way about it, but this is something that they should definitely be trying to move on from quickly. Obviously, you certainly want to keep that in mind for future matchups, but it's like your next game, obviously they'll be able to thrash the Raiders, but then you got the Cowboys, I see, and you just cannot let this situation just continue to eat you alive and snowball into worse performances over the course of the season, because that's how you underwhelm as a team. And the Ravens have some expectations to potentially get back to the championship game. So it's okay to have your emotions, but you cannot let them fester for too long. You have to be ready for every single matchup that's to come. It's as simple as that. All things considered, though, I mean, the Ravens, by the end of it, put together a complete game. I mean, Lamar Jackson, you should not be having him throw 41 pass attempts, but for him to complete 26 with a 63.4% completion percentage, score a touchdown, and also run for 122 yards on the ground is a very complete game. And they were even saying it early on, he looked exhausted. I mean, shit, I would be too if I'm trying my hardest to escape out of the pocket every single time because pressure just continues to get there, and the fumble was caused by oncoming pressure from Karlaftis and Jones. After they matched up on Roger Rosengarten, which should not be happening. That was weird. Also, their O-line in general was just going through it. I mean, I don't know what Ronnie Stanley is on, bro. The fact that this man had 3 penalties and could have been more called on him for illegal formations or any sort of false start, illegal man downfield, however it may be, that is a problem. And the fact that his contract is still in the top tier of left tackles in the league. I don't know when it ends, but whenever it doesn't, I think they've really got to consider letting Ronnie Stanley go. Is he really worth that anymore? Is it worth committing to him anymore? Because while, yes, he's had the injuries, and earlier on in his career, he was certainly worth the money, but now it's just like you're playing like an average lineman. You're playing like you're supposed to protect his blind side. That should be a specialty, and that should be a given. And it seems like he's just regressing that aspect every single year since. But you're not even able to make basic blocks anymore. You're not even getting as set as you're supposed to be on the O-line. And like, these are routine tendencies. These are routine actions that a top tier lineman should be well accustomed to. And elite at. And Stanley hasn't proven that in way too long. So it might be time to go. Derrick Henry also, I mean, he scored a touchdown early and ended with only 3.5 yards a game. He didn't get a single run over 10 yards. Rushing game for both teams was, they both left a lot to be desired. And, I mean, with Derrick Henry, yes, like, he is a running back that needs a good amount of carries to make an impact. 13 might be a little low. And, that is going to be a mutual adjustment on both sides. I mean, their focus was clearly to get Zay Flowers more involved. And, I mean, Isaiah Likely was having a good game, so of course they're going to try to get him the ball. So they would give Derrick Henry these runs and then take that right out of the equation, pass it to somebody else, or get somebody else involved. They even had Justice Hill just getting a lot of screen passes out of the backfield. He had 6 receptions for 52 yards, and obviously Derrick Henry ain't no damn receiving back. But it's like, if you want Derrick Henry to be most effective, they are going to have to learn how to get him the ball more, especially when he's going. Because when he's on that timing, he's still fairly unstoppable. As a downhill runner just coming straight at you and willing to truck the dog shit out of you or stiff arm you. Signature move he has in his bag. But also, yes, Derrick Henry has to be more willing to get more out of his carries if you are going to have games where he only gets a few at a time. Because the Ravens are not going to be in consistent situations where they need to run the ball a ton in order to win certain games. That'll come around every now and then, but it's a passing league, and there may be some barn burners ahead with a team like the Cowboys potentially after, they reinforced their receiving core, at least. Their run game leaves a lot to be desired too. We're not even getting into that. So Derrick Henry has to adjust to that. And as for the game that John Harbaugh coached overall, I mean, damn, it's like you just leave this game, you turn it off and reflect, and honestly, Harbaugh at the end did fine, but you fucked yourself over from the jump. Now, 4th and 3 call that took place in the second quarter where Zay Flowers ended up getting the ball and just got tackled immediately. I'm watching the game and people are certainly giving him flack for that, and I just see it as like, yes, it was a weird play call, but when you look at it closer, they had Zay Flowers, because he's that small, he was trying to sneak behind a lineman and go out for a route with the hopes on the Ravens' end from Harbaugh and maybe Munkin that he would get manned up by a linebacker, which is exactly what happened. You know how fast Zay Flowers is, so he was probably going to kill him, which he did do. But what went wrong with that play is that Nelson Aguilar did not hold his fucking block on Trent McDuffie because McDuffie was manned up on him. So it worked exactly how it was supposed to. But Aguilar simply did not do his fucking job because, of course, he didn't. And that play got screwed up. So that is not on John Harbaugh. I will absolve him of any blame from that. But the reckless use of timeouts in this game was so egregious. And what do you know? It ended up completely derailing any chance they had of potentially tying or winning the game. They got so close to doing it. But you really thought that they would be afforded enough luxury with having a lack of any timeouts by the end of the 2-minute warning. And literally, on the subsequent third down, it stays in bounds and runs down to the 2-minute warning. exactly what did not need to happen. You were hoping for an incomplete pass of sorts. You nearly got it. That was the only way to stop the clock in that moment, get the ball back earlier, and then potentially try to stir up some sort of drive, get things going, and then have the 2-minute warning hit to make something happen afterwards. You made it harder on your offense to try to rally back. That is completely on John Harbaugh. There's no excusing that. They brought it together by the end, but why were they even in that spot in the first place is what you have to ask yourself. And also, Mark Andrews also had 2 receptions for 14 yards. I know that he didn't get a ball a lot. I understand that he's coming off injury, though, and he did not get a whole lot of reps in the voluntary workouts in the offseason and training camp. So there is definitely going to be a bit of a lapse there, but I'm sure that he will ease into that over time. Again, though, even with some of the better games he might have through the season, they look to be trying to open up an offense that revolves around guys like Zay Flowers. They tried to get Rashad Bateman a few catches as well, and granted, he came up with a big one unexpectedly. So, the focus is more on trying to stretch the field, and Mark Andrews is not really a guy that can do that for you. But as reliable as he is, I'm sure he will battle back and start to have better games in terms of performance. Now, as for the Chiefs, Xavier Worthy is the story of the night for them. And like I was saying the whole time, I knew that the Bills made a mistake the second they passed up on him. They could have had him and stole him at the 27th overall pick from the Chiefs so as not to let them get their hands on him. They get their hands on him, and from the very first touch he kills them with speed for a 21-yard rushing touchdown. Then later on in the game, he gets a 35-yard reception touchdown, and that would end up being the dagger after completely losing Marlon Humphrey. He's a cone. I don't even know what he was doing on that play. What was he expecting? Was he expecting him to really stay put in that situation and match the certain coverage that he was in? No, you're going to be stationary like that. Okay, you're going to let the guy with the fastest 40 time in NFL history just run right past you. And that would end up sealing the game for them. So you've got to look to Marlon Humphrey as well in terms of blame, because that was atrocious. That should never happen. A game that close and you give that up? What are you thinking about? But Worthy, I knew it. I saw it coming. He did his thing out there. Worthy also set history with this magnificent debut as he became the second rookie receiver and the first since Rick Upchurch of the Broncos in 1975 to record a rushing touchdown and a receiving touchdown in their debut game. Exceptional work by him. And Mahomes as well, you got to give credit, because while Rashee Rice, let me tell you something, Rashee Rice was getting all the slants, killing him with the in-breaking routes, and he ended with 103 receiving yards on 7 catches. So, again, yes, Hollywood Brown is out, but look out for Rashee Rice if you're going to have him having a performance like that, with Xavier Worthy being a viable option for them and having an opportunity to get more out of the team and put in more for said team. Just wait until you have this going down. You start out a game like that, and Marquise Brown is more established. With him, it's about the drops. put the drops aside, and Marquise Brown could literally reassert himself and possibly rejuvenate his career here. Because you're using these guys like that, and you don't even have the full core together just yet. Travis Kelce obviously had some solid catches, and you know they had to get a few shots Swift in whenever he got one. Mahomes had a solid performance as well, and also with his 291 passing yards, he actually set the Chiefs' all-time passing record and broke one. That was set by Len Dawson, who played for the Chiefs from 1962 to 1975. He did that in 86 less games than Len Dawson, after playing in 97 regular season matches. So you can imagine that if he had played in 2017, if they didn't feel that he just wasn't ready yet, numbers could look even better from a franchise standpoint. He could have already done it. And as long as he continues to play for the team, this record is going to be smashed. And it may even be untouchable for any Chiefs quarterback to follow. May. We don't know that right now, so I'm not going to assume anything. But you have to give them credit for that. Again, like I said, they averaged 3.6 yards a carry on their end, the Chiefs, and Pacheco averaged 3, but per usual, when they needed a big run, yes, his longest run was 5 yards, but he fought for every single yard that he needed at any given moment. And especially on that touchdown run, they needed that at that specific time. Because if they don't get it, momentum could look very different for them. They had gotten stopped a few times beforehand, and even Mahomes, looking for an open Rashee Rice, did get hit in an earlier possession and got picked off by Roquan Smith. So they were stunning a little bit there after such a hot start. But that run got them right back into the swing of things. And even at the end of the game, I mean, that's how you just know that Harbaugh is kind of a fool. I mean, that third down play, it gets batted up in the air, the ball that Mahomes throws. And as Trenton Simpson is trying to make on that third down play, Mahomes throws a ball that gets batted up, and as Trenton Simpson is trying to make a play on the ball, while Odafe Owe is coming in from behind, Mahomes makes a jump ball 50-50 style catch to gain 2 yards, keep the ball in bounds, and let them run it down to the 2-minute warning. And obviously with Matt Ariza's monster leg, and he had a pretty good outing in terms of overall opportunities to punt. He didn't have to do it a whole lot, but 3 punts, landing one inside the 20, showing off his kick power, decent performance to start out his tenure with the Chiefs. They made the right decision by getting this man. No question about that. But, man, I know that play went viral. It went viral. You already know it. An exceptional start to the season, like I've stated, and it gets even spicier tonight with the game in Brazil between the Packers and Eagles. Obviously, I'm going to be tuning into that, and I'll have something on that at a later time, possibly tomorrow. If college football, which could get crazy, college football, you got Michigan and Texas on tomorrow. They got a week. Man, it's just so good for football to be back in general. But that'll do it for this one. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.